Hello everyone, and welcome to my Days of Our Lives official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Sarah left the bedroom wearing his shirt as Xander prepared breakfast in his apartment. EJ takes pleasure in Tate's punishment. Xander stated, "I was going to bring you breakfast in bed." Xander made the hasty comment that he would have knocked on Sarah's door first rather than barging into her bed. "All things considered, I could never have disapproved," Sarah said. Xander got some information about Victoria, and Sarah affirmed that the child had stayed asleep for the entire evening. "No fever, nothing. She's improving," Sarah said. Sarah expressed gratitude toward Xander for letting her visit for the time being. After the entire fever alarm the previous evening, and me idiotically not having any child amphetamine close by, Xander said. Sarah chuckled. "It's acetaminophen," Sarah amended. Xander acknowledged Sarah's assistance. "Particularly since I demolished your New Year's Eve plans," Xander said. Sarah pondered her 12 p.m. kiss with Xander. Sarah stated, "I wouldn't say ruined." Xander began to apologize for having been excessively forward, however Victoria began to cry in the other room. At the point when Xander got back with Victoria, Sarah had completed the haggis early lunch that Xander had arranged. Xander said something about scones, and Sarah seemed confounded by Xander's articulation. "I truly do concede that I want to believe that she gets your highlight," Sarah said with a giggle. "I was somewhat trusting she'd take more after your side of the family," Xander said. Xander let Sarah know that he cherished her and Maggie and their articulations. "I like every little thing about you, believe it or not," Xander said. Sarah became flushed, and she stammered that she expected to get dressed and pack Victoria's things. "As you are aware, it is my date night with her," Sarah stated. "Right. How is it that I could neglect?" Xander murmured. After Sarah dressed, she kidded about her stroll of disgrace outfit. With a smile, Xander noticed, "Your stroll of disgrace outfit is extremely becoming. Not that I've at any point seen you look everything except lovely, regardless of what you wear or don't wear." Sarah grinned apprehensively, and she proposed to assist Xander with the dishes before she left. Xander said no. "Prior, when I was putting Victoria down, I really wanted to feel that now that Chloe's moved out, that there's an extra room," Xander said. Victoria's sake. "You're making it into a nursery," Sarah said. Xander reminded Sarah that she had dozed on the grown-up size bed in the nursery. Xander reluctantly inquired as to whether she needed to move in for all time with Victoria. "It is difficult to offer care. I miss her so much when we are separated," Sarah conceded. Xander concurred. "What's more, come on, it must be better for our daughter to have an extremely durable home as opposed to returning and forward between two places constantly," Xander said. Sarah concurred, yet she added that she would have rather not deserted her mom with Constantin. "Maggie's not exactly alone. There's loads of individuals actually living at the Kiriakis Manor," Xander contended. Xander added that Sarah previously invested the greater part of her energy at the medical clinic and not the house. "That is valid. In any case, perhaps Maggie could chip in more at the emergency clinic," Sarah said. Xander smiled. "Or on the other hand, perhaps you could believe that she's a young lady, and she can deal with herself," Xander said. Xander inquired as to whether she was searching for motivation to say no. "Perhaps I'm searching for motivation to not move in. It's simply, I figure you can comprehend how muddled this is for me. How I could have a tangled outlook on us living respectively," Sarah said. "We haven't talked about the night we kissed," Xander stated. Xander inquired as to whether she was stressed that he had requested that she move in with him as a method for laying down with her. Sarah contended that their feelings had been increased due to Victoria's fever and the occasion. "That is valid. But on the other hand, the facts really confirm that I've needed to kiss you for quite a while," Xander conceded. "I needed to kiss you, as well," Sarah admitted. "I could tell," Xander said. Xander and Sarah giggled. After a second, Sarah made sense of, "Our kisses are all astounding. I'm frightened of going excessively quick and falling only frantically enamored with you once more and thinking twice about it. Xander guaranteed Sarah that assuming she moved into his loft, they would be flatmates and co-guardians. I'd abide by your boundaries. What's more, I'm certain you would regard mine, Xander said. With a laugh, Sarah asked Xander what his limits were. You ought to never under any circumstance eat something from the refrigerator that I was putting something aside for myself, Xander said. Xander additionally asked Sarah not to lose his telephone while cleaning. What are your limits? Xander inquired. Sarah proposed to make a bookkeeping sheet. That would be useful, Xander said. Sarah was asked by Xander if she had an answer. I'd try it out, Sarah said. Xander glowed. I was truly trusting you would agree that, Xander said. Xander ventured into his pocket, and he took out a bunch of keys. Welcome to your new home, Xander said. After working at the hospital on New Year's Eve, Tripp went back home. As Wendy was getting ready for the move, she mentioned that Tripp might be able to make up for his absence for her when they got to Hong Kong. We can observe Lunar New Year together, Wendy said. Tripp was informed by Wendy that she had been granted a leave of absence by the Salem PD. I hope to return one day. Obviously, everything relies upon my father's condition, Wendy said. Wendy made sense of that her dad was all the while doing ineffectively, and that she was anxious to get her flight that evening. Tripp said, I'm sure your parents will be so happy to see you. Also, I'll be so blissful when I get to invite you to Hong Kong, Wendy said. Wendy inquired if Tripp had coordinated with the hospital. My apologies, Wendy. Tripp stated, I cannot go. I thought we had previously chosen. You were the person who needed to go with me, Wendy said. Tripp clarified that nothing had remained the same. Tripp revealed to Wendy that he had visited his mother after work and that he had learned of Holly's overdose. There's something wrong with something. At the point when she urged me to go with you to Hong Kong, I had this premonition that there was an up thing with her, Tripp said. Like what? Wendy inquired. With a shrug, Tripp said he didn't have any idea what was off base, however he realized that his mom had confidential. Tripp reminded Wendy that his mom had been in the horde. Stand by, you don't think? Wendy inquired. I would rather not think everything except that she's coming clean with me. What's more, she resolvedly denied being associated with drugs, Tripp said. Wendy looked through Tripp's face, and she noticed that Tripp didn't trust Ava. Such a large number of things don't make any sense. Or on the other hand, perhaps they do, Tripp said. Tripp recorded all the proof he had aggregated. Tripp made sense of that his mom had a solution for each thing. It's like she was ready. Excessively ready, Tripp said. Tripp's concern was understandable, according to Wendy. Ava needs you. Presently like never before. Whether she'll just own it. Thus, without you here, who will deal with her? Wendy said. Tripp let Wendy know that he adored that she was so comprehension of his contention. That's due to the fact that I am in love with you and know you, Wendy said. I am so heartbroken, Tripp said. With tears in her eyes, Wendy said she was disheartened, yet that she regarded that family meant a lot to Tripp. Very much like I feel like I need to deal with my folks now. Wendy said, I know you feel the same way about your mother. Might it be said that we will attempt the significant distance thing? Tripp inquired. Wendy said okay, and she recognized it would be hard.